have returned. Australia have won the series. Still got 2 test matches to play as well. And what about the selectors? So we thought we'd bring Mark Waugh straight in, patting himself on the back. Gee, you copped a bit of criticism, didn't you?
Very smart captain, that. You know, praising the selectors. He's got a job for life now.
Suppose he managed to get his head through the door.
Yeah, we did cop a bit of stick before the first test. AB was all right, but I think someone called us morons and someone said we're confused and all that sort of stuff. But it's satisfying when the players you pick come and do the job and you win. So it doesn't always happen, but it's happened this time.
Well, seeing both of them, Alan Borden, Isha Gura alongside us as well.
Couple of Aussies.
AB, a lot of people said got the dartboard right, you reckon, Junior?
Right, yeah.
That's very disrespectful.
Done a great job. You've got to put your hand up to it, haven't you?
So Ian, did you think it was going to be 3-zip at the Wacker?
No, I thought that it was going to be a tighter series. I thought, but the real difference has been the X factor that your bowling attack has, and they've just blown away the English late middle order tail, and that's been quite a source of runs over the last few years. But it was non-existent, and it's a different game when you think, well, once we get past 6, you know, we can knock this game over quickly, and that's how the dressing room, I would think, in the Australian camp was saying, all right, come on, boys, keep it tight, pick up the first 5-6 wickets, and then it'll be all over Red Rover. Exactly what it was.
Isha, you were up there calling it Triple M. I mean, there were stages where, you know, England got themselves back into that game, but the 400 at the start in this one was a tough one to take, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they were in a position where they could have got 500. Across the series, England have been in there at times, and they just haven't had the R word that we all use, which is being ruthless. Australia have been able to do that on a regular basis. You just look at the captain, Steve Smith, 100 at Brisbane, double 100 at Perth, and the others are as well. They're just coming in and performing for their captain. So it's just a case of England not being able to be consistent for longer periods of time.
Well, have you seen the big changes, or not the changes, the things that stood out for you, AB, in this series?
The difference for me is Smith has been phenomenal with the bat, and he's just led the way. There's been individual support in the different games, the 3 games, and then the bowling. The 4 bowlers have just hunted as a pack. It's been a really noticeable difference, as Ian said, the firepower that they bring to the table, and they've just hunted as a foursome. Lyon's been brilliant as a foil to the quickies, and to me that's the difference.
Junior, I just get the feeling it's all about the opportunities too for the guys that you guys have selected to come in under a little bit of heat at the start up at the Gabba, but they've taken their opportunities, haven't they?
They have. I mean, Sean Marsh's been brilliant. Mitchell Marsh's 180 under pressure. A lot of people question his selection, but we know he's got the talent, but now he's done it, so breakthrough innings. Tim Payne has been excellent. You know, his keeping and his batting has been, you know, top class. He made one mistake in Brisbane. Everyone thought, oh, no, here we go. But since that hard drop chance, he's been faultless, really. So the selections have been great. But I mean, our bowling attack, that's the best bowling attack in world cricket. So the standard, the quality there is just too good for England. It's as simple as that. I mean, England have tried hard. They've batted quite well in patches, but overall they just can't withstand that quality.
Well, speaking of the bowling attack, let's hear from the Australian captain, Stephen Smith, about the big 3 and also Mitchell Starc playing at the MCG.
You know, we've worked really hard to ensure that we had these 3 big quicks on the park and ready for this series. A couple of them skipped the one-day series in India, and we knew what was coming up. We were preparing for this series, and we wanted those big 3 on the park to do what they've done the last 3 test matches. So having seen him just there, he just said, I'm playing. Whether he has a choice in the matter, I'm not sure, but he wants to play. I think he was a little bit sore. He said it didn't get any worse when he was bowling, but I guess that's something that we have to sum up. We've obviously wrapped the series up here, and we'd obviously love to win 5-0 and have the big 3 going all the time, but we've also got an important tour to South Africa after this series, which we'd love to have him available for. So a few things for us to sum up, and we'll see how he pulls up over the next couple of days. I'm sure that'll determine which way we go.
Yeah, that's a 4-test series against South Africa in March, right here on Fox Sports. But, Junior, I mean, do you give it up to the bowler and say, mate, do you want to play? Is that his call?
A bit of both. I think common sense prevails. You ask the bowler how he's feeling. The medical staff will assess it as well. Look, I guess if it was 2-1 down or 2-1 up and this was a test match we had to win, then you know, you might push the envelope a bit further than when you're 3-0 up. I mean, common sense says if he's not quite right, I think they'll err on the side of caution. That'd be common sense to me.
And you don't like missing test matches. I mean, a Boxing Day test match against England, you wouldn't want to be missing that, would you?
No, not in the form he's in. But actually, out of all the bowlers, he's probably, I think Hazel has been the man that stood out. I think he's been magnificent. At the bowlers, I see a lot of Glenn McGrath there. You know, the line length, patience, accuracy. Cummings has done well. Has bowled at times with some good pace. But Mitchell, I just wish he'd got this injury after the first test.
Well, he's had a few injuries.
No, he's had his share, in fairness. But no, he'll want to play. Of course he'll want to play. And if he can, he'll be out there. And I play with a lot of bowlers over the years, and there's some that would be definitely not be playing, and there's some that would definitely want to play. So
Well, at least you look at the pitch.
Well, yeah, well, they might do. They might not even do that. They're probably just checking the tee times at the golf course down the road.
I want to look at this comparison between Mitch Johnson and also Mitchell Starc. AB, this is a comparison. I mean, and I agree with you, Ian. I don't think he's been the best bowler in this series, but AB, you look at the numbers there. Mitchell Johnson, for my mind, just blew away the opposition when he got those numbers, 2 fifers.
That was phenomenal, wasn't it?
But impact bowlers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've both been absolutely outstanding, and Starc probably not at his absolute best, but he's got the wickets and got the big wickets at the right times. And it just shows you how good Mitchell Johnson's series was. I mean, that's just phenomenal performance, that. So, yeah, we've been very fortunate to have a couple of really good left-armers that can put the wind up the opposition.
It's all in the Mitchell, isn't it?
And it's been pace.
It really has. And Mitch Johnson in that series just terrorised the English. It was a psychological thing. For Starc, I don't think it's necessarily a psychological thing from an England point of view, but he has a knack of getting those early wickets and then just mopping up the tail. So he's a wonderful asset to have for Australia, for sure.
Now, let's have a look at that ball of the century. That's what they're calling it. I mean, this name was always going to come out.
Oh, it's got the 21st century.
Well, I mean, it's a cracking delivery, but it was going to tail away, but not as much as it did when it hit that crack. So I think it might have hit middle stump instead of off stump if it didn't hit the crack.
I tell you what, if you're the batsman, you're going to feel pretty unlucky, I reckon.
Don Bradman's not hitting that.
Oh, no one's hitting that because it went sideways and it went quick as well.
I tell you what, Isha, I mean, he bowls out all the time, that around the wicket, tailing away from the right-hander. Batsmen are going to get on and say, look, you just can't play him through the leg side, but they probably would have cleaned him up anyway.
And Vince said that he was the most threatening, coming around the wicket, has the ability to hit the crack and do that as well. It's just incredible, really. I'd like to contest it, though. What about the Ryan Harris delivery to Alistair Cook? And he didn't have to use the crack.
No, that's right. Brand new ball, I suppose, and just nipped away. But there's been some cracking deliveries bowled in the last few years. But
that's as good, like, isn't it?
That's as good again.
Some cracking
deliveries.
It's Wasm Akram, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what he can do.
I actually thought Jimmy Anderson, but he did it at a slower pace to get Stephen Smith out. I mean, he hit it on the back leg, but it just didn't look as dramatic.
Crack.
Yeah, exactly right. But to bowl that though, that was Wasm Akram.
Yeah, it's a great delivery, but in fairness to James Vince, he did stand there scratching his head, and he's got every right to, I think, to be honest, because I don't care if you had a bat that wide, you would still have missed it. It was just the angle, you're starting to play it here anyway, and you're looking to play it out on the onside, and then suddenly it hits that crack, and you think, oh.
Yeah, where's that gone?
Was it Wasm Akram in the World Cup final, the MCG?
Was is one of the best left-arm seamers I've ever seen, ever played against. He was fantastic.
There's comparisons between Wasm and Mitchell, different bowlers in terms of experience so far, but how do you compare it?
Well, they're both quick. I mean, Was was as quick as most bowlers around, as you know. He was an excellent bowler, excellent cricketer. But I just think when you get a delivery like that, you just put the bat under your arm and you think, OK, see you tomorrow, start again.
Yeah.
All right, one of the other big talking points out of the third Test match was the pitch, and especially on the last day. Isha, you were all over there. Can you run me through it? I mean, I've played millions of games over there. It's never rained, so I was just amazed it was rain.
Yeah, I mean, Chappelli said in his 15 years of playing there, it's never, ever rained. And, I mean, Joe Root, to the left, nearly got wiped out as well. That was the morning of the game.
So I mean, the way East was going.
The state of those covers, though, you would never get those in England, would you, Beefy?
No, but it might help if you sort of tapped them down. But, they might just put a little bit of something there.
I'm surprised they have covers in Perth.
But I'll tell you what the talking point was the dampness from that gust of wind and the water going on then, or was it the night before?
So we haven't reached a conclusion as to whether it was the night before or the morning of the game. I think it actually happened twice. I think what had happened was when they were trying to relay the cover, some of the water actually got onto the wicket. In any case, there were about 5 or 6 patches out in the middle whereby it was a lot softer.
Well, was it that bad?
It actually was. I mean, on the pitch, and they were using the blowers. They looked like Ghostbusters out there, about 5 or 6 of them, trying to return it to the condition it was the day before. Of course, it's at the discretion of the umpires, so they had to make a call as to first whether it was too dangerous to play, but also to make sure it was as close as possible to the day before. They decided on a time, and England, to be fair to them, Joe Root and Trevor Bayliss in the press conference afterwards said that the umpires handled it as well as they possibly could have done. So
they have another solution for that in the Caribbean, don't they? They just pour a bit of
kerosene.
Petrol on the ground.
I thought Shane Warne might bring his helicopter along and help to dry
Kevin
it.
Peterson's probably got one, is he?
Well, what will happen is if there's any dodgy results in Durham next year, you might find the chairman's out there underneath the covers just putting them.
I have to say, I have an alibi as well for the night
where were
before.
you?
So I definitely wasn't at the ground.
Yeah.
Got to peg it down at the wagon, that's what I reckon. All right, let's move on to Stephen Smith, because AB, they're saying, and even the punters out there are saying, we threw it out to the punters out there about who is, well, I'd say the second best batsman in the country at the moment. I mean, no one is going to get over the top of Sir Donald Bradman, but the final result is say, look, is Steve Smith and Australia's best batsman, second only to Bradman?
Well, if he retires right now, maybe.
On the
you
stats.
can put it, but I just think you've got to wait till, closer to the end to see where he stacks up against, blokes like Greg Chappell and Ricky Ponting in particular. They're 2 guys that come to mind for me that have finished their careers, been phenomenal in all forms of the cricket, and Stephen Smith's still got, he's only halfway through. So
10 years.
He might be better than Bradman.
Could be.
Who knows?
Ian, what do you think?
I think he's, you were talking about it back there, where would you bowl to him? And you're thinking, well, actually, you want to bowl at him before he gets to 40. And then after that, I'm not really bothered. Someone else can have a go. I'll have a crack before he gets to 40. But the way he's playing at the moment, he's the best form of his life. He's enjoying it. He has a knack of making bowlers bowl to him where he wants them to, rather than where the bowlers should be. But he's just a magnificent player at the moment, and in the form of his life.
He's just so hungry, though. He just wants to keep batting and batting. Some players get to 120, like me, get out, get bored, or, get to 180, but he just wants to keep batting and batting and batting. That's why he's accumulating so many runs. He's just, he's so unusual, but, when that ball's delivered, his hands and his head are in the right position, that's all that counts. And he's so confident, he knows where he can hit the ball. He's strong against pace or spin, doesn't matter.
I reckon he actually, what he does is he manipulates the field, and then where you've just moved him from, you can guarantee that's where the ball will go next.
Well, that's the art of batting, isn't it? Sometimes
he creates the gaps.
Well, if you look at that, scoring 1,000 Test runs in consecutive years, he's done 4 years streak. I mean, Matty Hayden did a 5-year streak there, but that's been phenomenal.
He's just got an incredible appetite for runs. As captain as well, he's averaging, nearly 80, and wants to lead from the front. He was hurt by that series over in England and didn't want to let England into this series whatsoever. I think what's interesting for me, though, guys, is actually when he first came into the middle and when he scored the double 100, the focus was more on getting out Usman Khawaja. So the spinner was on. Jamie Anderson didn't bowl at him until he was on 40. Were you surprised by that,
there were some
Evie?
interesting tactics, there's no doubt about that. Almost conceding, OK, we can't get Smith out, we'll try and concentrate on the other blokes. Yeah, so there was some tactical errors made. Yeah,
it's not a good message to send that either, is it?
No.
As a captain, you should be actually saying, right, let's get into him right now. And I was amazed that Jimmy Anderson, I actually had to go and check it to make sure it was right. And he hadn't bowled at him until he got 47 runs on the board. Yeah. I found that quite bizarre.
Yeah, it's strange. And there wasn't as much niggle, was there, in this Test match as Adelaide? Adelaide, they were obviously chirping Steve Smith a lot more. I thought they might have continued with that, but they didn't. Not as much chirp.
Let's chat out in the middle.
Well, one thing I want to get from you two guys is, I mean, I hate comparing eras and I hate comparing batsmen now and 20 years ago, but when you guys played with the Windies and Pakistan, and England had great bowlers as well in South Africa, there were decent quality bowling attacks right around the world. I'm not actually seeing that at the moment, but would you think Stephen Smith would survive back in those days in the Windies in the 80s and the early 90s?
Yeah, we'll never know.
Yeah.
As you say, it's one of those tough ones. You think that quality from whatever era would do well, whatever past or present era, yeah. So the question would be, yes, would he average 80 as a captain, or in the 60s as a Test match batsman playing against the West Indies? That'd be the big argument. But,
well, it'd be certainly a much more aggressive approach from the sides of then. West Indies, go back to see the picture there next to Jeff Thompson. You go back to that era, they were much more aggressive. And also there's no helmets then, so the melon got a bit sore. It got hit on it, bruised the melon. But no, I think that there would have been a lot more aggression from that West Indian side in particular.
Yeah. Yes. And
it would have been non-stop. But again, we'll never know.
Yeah.
But I go a bit with AB. A good player's a good player.
Is he up there with Kohli? Who's the best player in the world, do you reckon, at the moment?
Well, I think Smith. Kohli, I want to see him make some runs in England. And South Africa. And here, he's made runs here, but not as consistently as he does in the subcontinent.
When you look at their records, Steve Smith is ahead of Kohli by a mile. When it comes to Test cricket, when it comes to every format, although Kohli's played 100 more one-days than Smith, he's averaging 50 in all 3 formats, which is just ridiculous.
What do you think, Junior? I mean, all forms cricket, is he better than Kohli?
Well, I think Smith's a better Test match player. But I want to see Kohli do it, as we just said, over here and in England and in South Africa. If he does it there, well, then there's probably not much between them. But one day, as obviously Kohli's got the better record. But they're both great players. But I prefer Smith instead of Kohli on my side. But that's because I'm an Aussie.
Well, one guy that you picked was Mitch Marsh. I mean, how good innings did he play? I mean, I know he's ticked the box in getting 100, but he also gave good support with the ball. But his batting, he was in good nick when he came in, didn't he?
Yeah, 181. I mean, he couldn't have dreamt of that. I mean, he would have thought, OK, it's my chance, let's make a good 50, maybe 80, maybe 100. But I think he's got a different attitude now. He's a lot more relaxed. He's made a lot of shield runs this season, some good runs, so he's got a bit of confidence and, some confidence in his technique against good bowling. But he hits the ball so hard, doesn't he? He reminds me a bit of guys like Beefy here next to me and those sort of players who can come in at 6 and just change the game and attack the bowling. And that's going to do his confidence the world of good. Unbelievable innings, really.
Just how disciplined was he as well in that innings? I mean, pretty much I can guarantee every single one of you would have wanted to come down and launch Moeen Ali back down the ground, but he didn't do that until he was past 100.
Got good support at the other end, didn't he? Stephen Smith. Did Stephen Smith hit one over the top in 200 and whatever?
No, he didn't.
So that was discipline itself, and probably Mitchell took a leaf out of his skipper's book.
Well, he dominated that partnership, Mitchell Marsh.
By quite a long way as well.
So that shows he's in pretty good touch.
But I didn't think they were aggressive to him early on. I just felt that they eased into him, waiting for him to make a mistake.
Or they're just tired.
Yeah.
They've been worn down previous test, this test, and was the gas a bit low? I don't know, but I'm just trying to think about AB hitting them over the top.
Yeah, well, it's definitely. Big bombs down the ground.
AB, we're going to do your report card along with Ian as well. So I'm assuming it's going to be pretty good for the Aussies. What do you got?
Well, how can you not? Look, I've given 10 out of 10 for Stephen Smith and 9s to Mitchell Marsh. I mean, his performance outstanding. I thought Tim Payne was excellent. The bowlers, as usual, they just stood up. So, to me, it's a pretty even scorecard between myself and
well, I thought Beefy's a bit more generous.
Beefy. Yeah, hang on a minute. The bowlers win your matches. Just look at the way they bowl.
Yeah, but they weren't
7, 6.
Yeah, but there's not super at their peak. Pat Cummins and
you're
Mitchell.
a hard man.
But Hazelwood, he got a 9.
Hey. Now they wonder why he got the nickname Captain Grumpy.
I agree. You were very generous there, Beefy, I must admit.
Well, I thought they were excellent. I thought it was very hard.
I suppose when you take 20 wickets to 9, I mean, that's a dominant performance from the bowlers. Yes, all right. That's why he's Sir Ian both.
All right, we've got to go to a break. And on the other side, we'll turn our attention to the England camp. With the earned return, the cracks are well and truly showing.
This is a wild game of survival.
Well, it's been a tough time for England, no doubt, losing the first 3 Test matches in this series. And Ian, is it just about really around world cricket, not just Australia, but international teams winning at home but struggling overseas?
I think to be the number 1 side in the world, as Australia were for many years, the West Indies before that, they won home and away. And I think that's what you've got to do to stamp your authority and say we are the best team in the world. It'll be the side that starts winning away from home. Most people win at home. Sri Lanka win at home, very hard to beat. Pakistan very hard when they play in Dubai and those wickets. But you've got to start winning. England start winning in Australia. Australia need to win in England. And India need to win away from home. They hardly win anything away from home. So, yeah, I think at the moment, it just seems almost if we go through the motions away, we can't win over here, but we'll win at home. It's a strange one.
But Beefy as well, England's record is only better than the West Indies and Bangladesh since 2012 away from home. So what needs to happen, do you think, when it comes to the county circuit? Are we not producing quick enough bowlers, players that can play in all sorts of conditions? We have Lions tours now around the world, so they should be getting more experience from
They should be getting that through there, shouldn't they? They should be getting that on the Lions tours, the A-teams. What I think, what horrified me a little bit, and I sat down and thought about it, when we came to Australia, we had showed enough respect to Australia to come and play for a month before we played you in a test match. We'd play 3 state games, you'd play the usual Primrose Hill and all that stuff, Lilac Hill or whatever it's called, that one. You're not very good at the history of the game. Yes. But anyway, you'd play those, but then you'd have 3 proper state games and you'd probably have another state game between the second and third test. So you had that little bit of breather for players. Your test players, the ones that are in form, they have a rest. The other guys get to play a proper game in case there's an injury. Now, I think that's gone out the game and I think that's wrong. And I think that might well be why sides don't win away from home.
Well, it's interesting, Isha, because we're going to have a look at some numbers here on teams scoring 400-plus runs in the first innings, batting first, and losing. And it's really happening since 2011. Take out 1930 there, England at the Oval against Australia. But you have a look at those numbers there, and it's 2011 to now that this is happening.
And, I mean, 3 times England feature there since 2015, and 3 of those have happened this year, twice in India and then the last test as well at Perth. So it's sort of telling you that they're not scoring enough runs, but also that the bowling attack's not been strong enough away from home. So what can be done at the county level? Well, the county circuit produces bowlers that are bowling sort of 80 miles an hour and getting the ball to sort of nibble around. We're not producing a Pat Cummins or a Mitch Stark. There are players available, but they're all injured at the moment. So you look at someone like a Mark Wood, who's had injury troubles. Tim Mills, who's quick, but he can only bowl 4 overs in the limited overs format. So I guess the question really is how we're going to start producing more and more of these bowlers.
Whether it's the development of the cricketers or whether they don't, some say they bowl too much. I think it's more likely to be the other way, because I think bowlers get fit by bowling. You can't do it in a gym. How do you simulate bowling in a match in a gym? You can't. So I think that bowlers need to perhaps bowl more. I think they have these rules now. You can only bowl 16 overs a day or 14 overs a day or 12 overs depending on the bowler. Well, to me, that's not helping the bowler.
If Ben Stokes was here, he would make a huge difference to the team. So that's one thing where it hasn't helped. But your spinners, I don't know where they are at the moment. Well, you probably got a lot of spinners, but they're all similar sort of quality. Not quite test quality.
But if you look around the world, there isn't that many spinners actually controlling the games now. Yeah. Ashwin probably, Jadeja. They're injured.
Nathan Lyon's doing a good job for us.
Nathan Lyon, I think, finger spinner is as good as anybody in the world. And he's come on. His advantage is he gets that overspin, so he's not just doing side spin.
But he gets drop. He's getting a lot of drop on the ball,
and then it dips.
Whereas Ali's just sort of more floating it.
What about Joe Root? He funded the press conference at the end of the Test match and spoke about the loss and also changes for the England side.
Yeah, it's bitterly disappointing. I think one of the most frustrating things is that we haven't been blown away. We've not been completely outplayed. We've put up some really good performances just for not long enough. Simple as that, really. Probably the thing that's been my biggest detriment is trying too hard. I've been desperate for us to win this series. A lot of time and effort's gone into it as a group and me personally, and there's still 2 very important games that we have to make sure we put strong performances in. It's very important that as a group, and me as captain, Trevor, we don't panic, we don't make any hasty decisions after 3 games which haven't gone in our favour, and we're very realistic about where we are as a side, and what's going to be most important is making sure we field the team that's going to give us the best chance to win the next game, and so forth. And that's all that my focus will be for this next week is getting the guys in the right frame of mind to play as a whole squad, and then going out there and delivering.
Has that been a tough one for him at the press conference? I mean, should they be making changes and hasty changes and big overhauls or not?
Well, I don't think they've got the players to do that at the moment, not with them. And Mark Wood's here. He's bowled well and bowled quick with the A team that's been running parallel.
So should he come in?
Well, I personally, I'd have played him in Perth because we had to win that game.
Yep.
Lose it as we have, well, it's gone. So why not take a punt on it? He's quicker than anyone else in the England setup. He's been bowling quick. Get him into the squad and play him. Why not? I just don't. Sometimes you've just got to take a gut feeling and say we're not knocking these guys over. They're getting runs consistently. Why is it? And it's the X factor. And you want someone that can bowl at 145 plus.
Other changes?
Well, I don't know if they'll go with Mark Wood now that the series is done. I think one of the reasons why they were maybe a bit reluctant to play him at Perth, he's only bowled 16 overs in the 2 warm-up games that he's played, and he's had injury history. So for him to maybe come in, bowl a few overs and then potentially get injured again, I think they're probably a little bit worried about that. But especially as he's probably one of the few who are bowling 90 plus miles an hour. So it would have been a bit of a gamble, but I totally see what Sirian's saying in the fact that we needed to win that game. So Tom Curran as well, he looked good in the warm-up game ahead of the Perth match. Moeen Ali's had a bit of a tough time. He hasn't scored enough runs, and he hasn't looked to be too potent with the ball in his hands. So whether they might.
So what changes are you making? What, are you going to change the batting lineup?
Well, look,
would Cook stay?
If Moeen Ali's not fit to bowl properly and he's got this cut, he's a bit of a confidence play, Mo, and I think the Australian bowlers are into him now. I think they're going to tie him up. I think they're going to be peppering him. He's got this finger injury. He's not bowling well. Maybe he's the one that should have a rest and bring someone else in. They've got Mason Crane. Do you want to bowl him under these circumstances? Is this the right place for him to make his Test debut? I'm not sure it is, because, let's be honest, if they'll go after him, they're after Moeen Ali, who's an experienced bowler, they'll go after someone playing debut. So is that the right place to play?
Is Overton going to be fit? He's got a crack rib. I'd be surprised if he plays. So there's maybe a forced change.
Well, would you make a change at the top of the order? Would Alistair Cook play?
Oh, he's got to play.
He's got to play.
No, he's got to play.
Absolutely. I hear this chit-chat out there. And you said something I shouldn't have said then. But I hear that out there. And Alistair Cook has had 3 Test matches where he hasn't scored runs. Just check the whole record.
Yep.
OK? Just check the whole record.
He hasn't had much luck either. He's caught it fine leg at Brisbane, caught and bowled Josh Hazelwood.
Leg side, down the leg side.
No, he's got to play.
Okay. Definitely.
There's plenty of talk about maybe Broad or Anderson, one of those guys missing out. Would you play that?
Well, I think that'll depend on Overton.
Okay.
On Overton's fitness. If he's fit and they think he can get through a match. I'm a bit with Junior. I'm not quite so sure that with a cracked rib, you only have to take one more blow on it, and you
Broad will play. He's bowled.
I think it's
Anderson's bowled pretty well.
Broad and Anderson. I'd be taking a punt on Wood. Beefy says last game, but he only has to bowl. 16 overs a day.
Yeah.
Short bursts, fast
4
bursts.
over bursts.
You've got 3 other quickies to do the donkey work. You've got Joe Root and Milan. I thought Milan's leg spinners were quite tidy. He's worth more overs. So, you've got enough bowlers.
Steve Smith came up to me on the 4th day and said, after he bowled to him, he said, I didn't know what he bowled when he came on. Yeah. He said, but he's not bad.
There you go.
So there you go.
Get him in.
More overs.
Reverse psychology.
More Joe Root. Get rid of Mo Ali. Unfortunately, he's a good player, but he's just shot duck at the moment. And you could play Mason Crane and just ease him into circumstances in the Test match.
90,000 people.
Let's have a look at your report cards. Let's get them up. Alan Border and Ian both in report cards on England. Away you go, boys.
Yeah, well,
You've got an 8 and a 9 in there.
I gave a couple of really low marks there because I think Moeen Ali has not fired a shot and didn't do anything in that game. Alistair Cook, nothing. Stuart Broad, he had his probably worst game that he's had in Test cricket. And the rest just speak. So I'm really impressed with David Milan. I think he's been one of the real success stories of the tour. He looks like a really good cricketer and can bowl some leg spin. But I thought he was an outstanding performer. Bairstow, yep, excellent. That partnership in those two, that was taking the game, you know, England's way. And unfortunately, when they lost their wickets, it just fell away at the end. So,
well, they're remarkable.
I don't know whether you can sort of.
Well, I thought Milan was great. I thought he looked fantastic.
And we've agreed on three players.
You'll be giving everyone a 10 if you win a game.
Mate, I will be.
Well, I just thought Milan looked awesome. I mean, he's up against a pretty good bowling attack. They're probably the best in the world at the moment. And once he got in, I thought it looked solid.
And you look at ahead of the series, you wouldn't have picked David Milan to be the leading run scorer at this stage of the Ashes. Fantastic maiden century, and he looks like he's got a lot of fight about him.
And also, he was the one that took on the quicks. He was prepared to have a go. And then suddenly, that's a different psyche for the bowler. You know, this guy's taking me on. It's down there, you only top edge it at 6. And I thought perhaps that's why they bowled him a few more balls that he could drive, because they've seen him hook it and hook it well. So yeah, he's aggressive. And Bairstow, I think he and Bairstow, that really innings,
really good,
putting into a great spot. But that should have been 500, 550.
Yeah.
And again, what happened? 7, 8, 9, 10, bang, deck of cards.
Yes.
Well, they were certainly aggressive against a tail, and that to me was one thing that stood out, where you get down to about 6 down and then you can just wrap the rest up in 40 runs.
Or Broad, Anderson. I mean, Overton batted well in Adelaide. He played well there, but against that quality bowling, it's, you know, you need these guys that are in to go on and make a bigger score, you know.
I mean, how much does that play on the mind of a batsman when you know your last 5 wickets are going for like 30, 40 runs? Does it
Well, it
put
shouldn't
more
really
pressure
affect
on
you.
you?
When you're batting and you're in your zone, you're concentrating on your game. You're not thinking, oh, the blokes behind me can't bat. And it should actually make you a bit more determined. It shouldn't really make you more nervous. So, no, I don't think that's an excuse.
I've just got one query. The tactic of bowling around the wicket and basically halfway down. You know, what do we think about that? You know, because as soon as the tail come in, you know, 9-10 jack or 8-9-10 jack, round the wicket.
You're saying intimidatory bowling, is it?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think the umpires are sort of stepping on it quickly enough. And that's from an Australian. I'm quite happy to see him getting bashed up. But
I think it's a bad rule.
What the rules
I
are.
don't think it should be a rule.
You just reckon you've got to bat.
If you're playing Test cricket, bad luck.
And you've got helmets, chest guards.
Short pitch bowling. You know, if they want to get rid of the rule, fair enough. But what constitutes short? Is that a short pitch ball or that?
From shoulder to head, I suppose, is it?
Well, it depends on your height as well.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't fancy
Short
batting
balls of
against
a
someone
length.
just bowling halfway down with 2 and 3 blokes out in the
I
hook.
thought you did in the 80s.
But how do you score? How do you score?
Leave that for another day. Got to go to a break. On the other side, we're going to talk Big Bash. Sam Billings on the Sixers is coming in. We're going to take AB out, actually. And we'll also check in on the international scene. Come on, bud.
Jingle bells swing and jingle bells ring, snowing and